The Israeli attack on Ghaza, which occurred immediately after the American elections, was timed. It did not take place by accident. It was timed to occur after the US elections. It was not the first attack on Gaza, and it will not be the last. It was a brutal attack. And those who say that they follow the religion of Abraham, Ibrahim alayhi salam, who say that they are Jews, are actually betraying the Jewish faith by acting in a barbarian way with utmost cruelty upon a largely defenseless people. It's not going to be pretty for a Jew to be hearing that it was a battle between David and Goliath. Yes. But this time, David, or Dawood alayhi salam, is with the Muslims who follow Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. They acted after the US elections so that they could begin the process of putting pressure on the American regime. Incrementally, now that Obama has been re-elected, so that the American regime in this second term will follow a script that Israel will design. It was brutal because they want to destroy Gaza bit by bit in order to break the will of the people to resist. The Palestinian will for resistance has been shining beautifully all these years. They have suffered and suffered and suffered indescribably at the heart of this heartless brute, but it has not broken their will. This wanton destruction is not so wanton. It is actually calculated. They send their missiles targeting particular institutions, particular buildings, particular facilities, in order to make the quality of life for the people of Gaza increasingly unbearable. They have a blockade of Gaza, which has been going on for so many years now. What they are planning, it appears to me, is to try to so escalate the oppression on Gaza that the next time around, we'll come back to this time in a moment, that the next time around, or maybe the one that follows the next time, would be such a monstrously wicked attack, such a brutal attack, that the people will have to flee. And because you no longer have Hosni Mubarak in Egypt to block the way, and you have a friendly regime in Egypt, Ikhwan al-Muslimun, it would facilitate what the Jews call, and it's there in the Bible, it's one of the books of the 5 books of Moses, it's called Exodus. The Jews had an exodus out of Egypt, back to the Holy Land. This is an exodus of Palestinians from Gaza to Egypt. That seems to be the ethnic cleansing plan that they have in store for Gaza. And maybe after they finish with Gaza, they will then turn to the West Bank. What do we do in such a situation the next time around when their jets start sending missiles into Gaza? and then they plan a ground invasion into Gaza. What do we do? The answer is, at least, if nothing else, women and children and the elderly and the handicapped should be allowed to make hijrah. At least. If you do not allow them to make hijrah, if you keep them captive in Gaza, you are betraying the sunnah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, who when he found his community under such attack in Mecca, he advised them hijrah, and they made hijrah to Medina. And so hijrah is the sunnah when you are faced with persecution that is unbearable. That is what Hamas has to study and Hamas has to decide. And tonight we are warning Hamas that if you do not allow the hijrah of the women and the children and the elderly and the handicapped, if you do not allow that, then the blood of your mothers and your sisters and your daughters and your children, and the next attack come, will be on you. Will be on you. You have no excuse for not having hijrah when you have a brotherly Ikhwan government in Egypt. If you do not want to make hijrah, you want to remain and fight Israel, you can do that until you realize that you could no longer bear it. But you have no excuse for not allowing your women and your children and your elderly and the handicapped to make hijrah to Egypt. The next comment we have to make is that Hugo Chavez in Venezuela responded to the Israeli attack on Gaza, the last attack on Gaza in November, by abolishing all visa restrictions for Palestinians to enter Venezuela. Shame on the world of Islam. Shame on the world of Islam that Hugo Chavez in Venezuela should do what the world of Islam should have done a long time ago. So we call tonight, and we ask all those who hear this call to lend their voices to the call and to mobilize this call, that governments around the world of Islam should set the example and remove all visa restrictions for Palestinians wishing to make hijrah out of Gaza, at least, out of Palestine as a whole. When they come and they seek refugee status, then the decent thing to do is to grant them refugee status.